call me a hopeless optimist, but I actually still think we can get it done. And with that, I want to wish every American a Merry Christmas. And, because we didn't get this done, I will see you next week.
President Obama just moments ago reaffirming his commitment to getting a deal on taxes before the fiscal cliff on New Year's. The president made the point that this is a real-world issue with real-world consequences. It's not just some game for politicians to play inside the Beltway.
Nobody can get 100% of what they want. And this is not simply a contest between parties in terms of who looks good and who doesn't. There are real-world consequences to what we do here. And I want next year to be a year of strong economic growth. I want next year to be a year in which more jobs are created and more businesses are started. And we're making progress on all the challenges that we have out there.
There's too much going on, too much at stake for Republicans to hold the economy hostage just because they want to protect the rich. This is a question of fairness, and we must continue to fight for it. Joining me now is Congressman Steve Cohen, Democrat from Tennessee, and former Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell, now an NBC News political analyst. Thanks to both of you for being here tonight.
Good evening, Rev.
Nice to be with you.
Congressman, let me start with you. The president said nobody can get 100% of what they want, but you've seen the right-wing Republicans in the House. They don't seem to get that.
No, they don't. They're an immature group politically. Many of them were new to politics in 2010, and they came in with the idea of no revenues, and and no taxes at all. And they have, I think you can see what the president's had to deal with for the last 2 years. People have questioned the president and his working across bipartisan ways. He's tried to be bipartisan, but this group is rigid, immature, inexperienced, and looking out for their own political good. You know, Mitch McConnell wanted to beat the president. Now the president can't be beaten, but these folks are now concerned about re-election. They came to Washington to change Washington, but their main concern is re-election, and they don't want anybody saying you raise taxes or you tax anybody, even the uber rich.
But Congressman, I want to be clear here because people listen Plan B and may not understand. We're talking about them protecting the rich and cutting food stamps, cutting Medicaid, cutting Medicare. I mean, hurting middle-class people, hurting poor people, and they act like this is some badge of honor?
Well, Al, you know, the sad thing is their main concern was defense, and while we're important that we pay our soldiers and we take care of our veterans, there's a lot of defense equipment that is unnecessary and terribly expensive and really done for contractors. That they protected in their bill, but they didn't care about human beings, and they never really have. They don't care about a safety net. In fact, they want to shred the safety net. Their main thing is millionaires. Bush attended some function up in New York when he was president and said that was his base. That is the base of the Republican Party, the uber wealthy, the Koch brothers and all those people that fall in that 2/10 of 1% or 3/10 of 1% at the upper echelon. And you know, they're getting a tax cut already with the president when he's given in and raised it to $400,000. The wealthy will pay the old rates on their first $400,000 of income. And if it was at $1 million, they'd be paying the old rates on the first $1 million of income. This whole thing of millionaires is absurd, and the president went far enough to $400,000. The idea was that the wealthy should sacrifice some too, that the people who depend on government services would have sacrifices through the sequester, but that the people who benefited the most, the wealthy, should pay something. Well, when you get to $400,000, you're talking about indeed the wealthy, even by New York and California standards. And to go to $1 million is ridiculous. That's the let 'em eat cake Marie Antoinette level.
Governor Rendell, the repercussions are already apparent when you see Dow Jones closed down nearly 121 points today after the Plan B failure. The ramifications of this will only get worse if we go over the cliff. You have governed in Pennsylvania. You have been known to sit people down and make deals and make people come together. Can a deal be made here? Can this be saved?
Well, it can be, Rev, but it's not going to be easy. The president has a very difficult task because, as Congressman Cohen said, the other side is incredibly immature. And, you know, the president said it could have been taken right from the Rolling Stones song. You can't always get what you want. And that's the truth. And the president should deliver a stern message that if we go over the cliff, there's not going to be 400,000 or 500,000. We're going to do all the way up to the limit, and it's going to be at 250,000, which the original tax rates were at. He should make it clear that this is their one chance to get that bit of a bargain if they want it. But it's very difficult when the other side is in chaos. You want someone across the table from you who can make a deal, someone strong enough that you can reach out your hand and shake your hand and have a deal, because then you can reach a tenable compromise. But right now, I doubt whether we have the ability to do that.
Isn't that the problem, though, Governor, that we don't have real leadership on the other side that can deliver? I'll give you an example, something that struck me. National Review reported on the closed-door conference meeting that Boehner held, and it says, I'm reading from National Review, one Republican told the magazine that when they realized Boehner didn't have the votes, quote, my buddies and I said the same thing to each other. We looked at each other, rolled our eyes, and just groaned. This is a disaster. It is a disaster if you're working with a guy that can't deliver his side of the deal, Governor.
There's no question. I mean, it makes it very hard for the president, and worse, it makes it very hard for the country. Look, there has to be revenue. Let's say that 1,000 times in a row, so maybe it can get through to some of these guys. And there has to be at least $1 trillion of revenue. We have more than $1 trillion. We have a serious problem. As Representative Cohen said, there has to be cuts in the Defense Department budget. Gosh, Secretary Gates, a Republican, a hawk, has said you could cut $80 billion a year from the defense budget and not hurt it. I think the president is proposing only $10 billion a year in cuts from the defense budget. But we've got to be mature about this. And on our side, Rev, there's going to be some pain for some of the people that we would love to protect, because we've got to give the other side something if we want them to come along. So we've got to be mature about it, too. I think in the end, and I'd love to hear Representative Cohen on this, I think in the end most of our men and women will. But it's going to be tough on both sides. The president's got to lead, and I thought his statement today was terrific.
Representative Cohen, you can give us your take on what the governor just said. We've got to go, but please respond about we're going to have to take a little pain on our side.
I think there'll have to be some, and we do support our president, and Speaker Pelosi is a great leader in getting the votes and getting us to support what's important for the country and what's important in a fair bargain, and the president will insist on a fair bargain. Hopefully, and Governor Rendell's been such a leader on infrastructure, hopefully there'll be something about infrastructure, because we need to improve our economy too and move America forward to put people to work as well. And that's the way to create getting these jobs and infrastructure to get us off of this fiscal cliff, fiscal incline in the future.
No doubt we need jobs. Congressman Steve Cohen, Governor Ed Rendell, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Rev.
Reverend
Merry
Sharpton,
Christmas.
always good to be with you.